What does a tour manager do?
What does he do? Pretty much everything.
Yellow river, yellow river, yellow river, yellow river is in my mind and in my...
I was wrong about God. Turns out he likes that 70s stuff after all. So it didn't piss down, and they played 4 encores.
Let me tell you what it's like to manage a rock band. We're driving all over, hell and creation. City to city, roadies and crew, the whole nine. And not one person, not one, ever asks how we're always stocked up on gas.
I do not, for one, think that the problem was that the band was down. I think that the problem may have been that there was a Stonehenge monument on the stage that was in danger of being crushed by a dwarf.
See the cherry red or midnight blue. Oh, midnight blue. Oh, your brain drive you insane. Don't talk. Don't let them inside your brain. No, no. Run away, girl.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good golly, Miss Molly. Welcome back to It's Only Talk and Roll here on That 70s Rock Fan on YouTube and over on Rumble. Links will be provided throughout the show, as long as my producer remembers, my producer being me, of course, so that could be a problem. Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for being here. I can see a bunch of people in the chat already, our great friends. We have Southern Viking. Good to see you. We got the great Vince Womack, and we have Davina Duckworth. There's Vince. There he is. Greetings and salutations. We got Commander Phil. Good to see you, my friend. We got Lord Thoth, our great Canadian wrench and hockey fan, and all those other great things. The wonderful Parrot Head, who sends me such lovely stuff in my DMs, and I try to reciprocate. I can't show them on screen, but you know. We got BLT. Good to see you. Some guy called Joe's Atmosphere. Don't know who he is. The great D. Bud Martin, another great wrench. Good to see you. Dustin, Keto Simple, believing will be joining us, I hope, soon. Rebel Dragon, good to see you too. Working my way back. If I forget anyone, don't worry, we will catch up with you later. Courtney was here earlier. Hopefully, I know she's got some stuff to do today. Hopefully, she'll be able to listen in. And Darius Munchausen, hail brother. Hope to see you on the stream when you are free and you get the chance. So join us. And Jim Donegan, welcome to the show, Jim. Yeah, great. So I hope you all had a great weekend. I'd like to welcome back, first of all, our special guest, Mr. Derek Wilko Wilkinson. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, guys. Had a good day Easter. You know.
Yeah, you're enjoying that Californian weather.
Well, that's why I'm outside. It's finally beautiful. The California weather's here. The funny thing is, though, I cleaned my backyard because my brother's coming on Thursday, and what I normally put my holder onto, I threw away and I didn't realize. So I'm looking around, going, "Where can I hang this so I'm not holding?"
Your phone holder. Yeah.
I
Isn't
thought
that what
it
you've
was
got a
all
wife?
set up. It was brilliant.
Isn't that what you've got a wife for? I mean, can't she just stand like
you know,
this?
no comments on that.
Smart man
Yeah,
right
no
there.
comments on all that.
Yeah, well, good to see you back.
What you doing? Is
Yeah,
everybody
good to see you back, mate. We're I hope you had a great weekend. I know you're enjoying that weather because you'll be going back to the UK soon, and it'll be miserable.
Nah, I'm going straight into Spain and Portugal, mate.
Oh, well, that'll be all right then. Yeah.
English weeks and that's it.
So our good friend Granny was sending me some photos from the UK today, and he was showing me his English breakfast, and then his scone with jam and cream. Very
Oh, I see
British.
a picture of his Cornish pasties yet.
Soon. I don't know if I want to see his pasties or his pasties.
There you go. That's his nickname from the boys, is Cornish pasty.
All right, that's what he's into. Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
guys, my throat goes, my voice.
no worries, mate. We'll get it into some stuff soon. But also, I'd like to say hello to my esteemed colleagues on the panel. First of all, Pope, how are you, my friend?
Doing good, man. Always glad to be here. Good to see you again, Wilko. Had a great Easter. Talked some Judas Priest yesterday, so always glad to do that.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Is that a band you ever encountered, Wilko? Judas Priest?
Judas Priest, I met him a couple of times on the road.
Nice.
You know, mainly in the bar, I think. I never saw. You know, you always see people in the bar in this business. It's, you know, never saw them live. I know that.
All right.
You know.
Okay. Cool. Well, Pope, it must have been a busy Easter for you because you are Pope Metallicus. So,
Well, you know, you get your duties done as fast as you can, and then you go do the things you love.
a quick exorcism or two, and
Exactly. You kind of rush through a mass or two, and then just run off and go do it.
But speaking of exorcisms, Imperatus, how are you, sir?
How did I know that was coming? I'm doing all right. Pleasure as always to be here, and pleasure to meet you, Wilko. I mean, unfortunately, had to miss your first time on here. You were not a good chance to meet you and hear what you got to say about your time in being a roadie.
Yeah, well, we've got some fun stuff about that stuff.
So I've heard.
Imperatus is our resident death metal guy, so you know we do want to.
Ronnie James Dio.
Well, everyone loves Dio, of course, even Imperatus.
Yeah.
So welcome, Imp. Joe's Atmosphere. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, sir. I can feel with Wilko there. I've been working on my backyard deck that the fair Foxy has me working on for her combination movie showing and fire pit place out back. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've been working on that today. Had an electrician friend of mine from the you remember I told you I was working for a manufacturer when I lost my job and got into the YouTube scene. A friend of mine from that era was out here running some electric for me today. I got a bunch of 120 run outside, all nice and safe for the wind and rain and ready to party. So I'm ready to have some fun with Wilko because I know we're going to get into some stuff that I really enjoy that he's had a part of. So, and I actually have a story about Foreigner for him when we get to it. So,
there you go.
No, we'll be talking about Foreigner for sure, and a couple of things to do with those guys. And I know that, Joe, you're a big Linda Ronstadt fan.
Oh, is there anything better? Yeah.
I know Wilko's worked with Linda. And also today we're going to discuss things like Image Comics, various film festivals that Wilko's been involved with, and Broken Lizard, which we barely scratched the surface of before. I know you've had some work with those guys, so we'll definitely get into that if you're up for that.
When you're on the road with a bunch of comedians, it's fantastic. funny. It was unbelievable.
Good. Yeah, we definitely want to talk about that. And also, though, I'd like to welcome our good friend John Das Wolfen. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. Sorry I was a few minutes late. Kind of fell asleep after the show this morning. So, anyway, so party at Joe's house, I guess.
Hell yeah.
Party at Joe's house, and then we'll flip.
You guys can all get a plane ticket down here to Shreveport, Louisiana. I'll pick you up.
And we'll flip down to Wilko's before he leaves California and have a party there too.
Oh, yeah. Down there Saturday night. I've got the neighborhood coming over.
Nice. Yeah, so lots of great stuff to talk about that we barely scratched the surface on last time. Just before we get into the past, how are things coming together with the Rock and Roll Rowdies, Wilko?
Well, we're actually going to be taping in the last week of April our tour. We're going to go on tour in the fall. So we're going to try to put some kind of show together. I guess it's going to be a lot of Q&A, but we want to do a lot of other stuff that we want to talk about and laugh about and joke about. But right now we've got about 3 or 4 promoters that want to do us in England. So we thought, like, well, let's go on tour. So I'm going to be doing that all summer with Mark Emery and the other guys, So we'll send you a little link on that. But we're actually going to go in the studio and actually record our show, what we think's our show anyway.
Cool. Yes. So it sounds fantastic, mate. And we'll be doing more shows on this channel and on Pop Culture Minefield with you, with Granny, with Mal, and then a show planned at the end of April with all of you as guests on screen, which will be fun or dangerous. I'm not sure which.
It'll be very dangerous. We're going to be all in Torquay. And is it the 27th? I think there's a game on. Torquay won today. Hartlepool drew today. So the football was really good today.
Yeah, so you're a fan of Hartlepool United in the second division in England? League Two. See, it used to be first, second, and third, fourth division in my day. Right. League Two. And they're teetering on the brink of either remaining in that or being relegated. Is that right?
Well, the one on Friday, the one last week, and the drew today. But remember, the second bottom. So they've been playing all the top teams, and today they drew with Stevenage, and they got out of the relegation by 1 point. And I think 5 games left, and it's going to be right down to the last game, I believe.
Now, is League Two one tier below MLS, or for those of us that don't know, I mean,
it's well, as you said, it's Premier League, Championship, League One, League Two. That's it.
The old fourth division, as it used to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So now this is a team that Ryan Reynolds could have bought, but he ended up with Wrexham.
I don't know if it was a true story, but I heard through the grapevine he could have bought them. And he decided to go with Wrexham. And they won today, and they are top of the league. They're going to win, and they automatically go to League Two.
Yeah, it looks like Ryan Reynolds has made a big difference to that team. So,
what is it in the world today? Money pays the bills, and money buys the players.
That's right.
If you don't have that happening, it's a waste of space,
Yeah, it's all about money now, sport, unfortunately.
Yeah, totally,
I guess everything, entertainment's always been a bit like that, but including rock.
Yeah.
So Dustin's joined us. Good to see you, buddy.
Good to be here.
Yeah, and so we're going. There was a number of things we were going to talk about today. I would just like to say to the chat, both here and over in Rumble, I know there are people watching in Rumble. Please leave a chat, but please leave a like, share the link, and leave some questions for, particularly if you're willing to donate. Leave a question. Those questions would get asked first. Shameless plug for money. Support the channel. That's what they say. Yeah, I'll leave some questions for Wilko as we go through the day, and hopefully he'll be able to answer them within the limits of the law, and and so on. So, one of the things I wanted to talk about is, Wilko, did you mention that you did the Atlantic Records 40th anniversary gig?
Yes, in Madison Square Garden. And it was kind of awkward. Are you all there? Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. The average white band was split up at the time, and the band were kind of playing the game and going between each other. There were two different dressing rooms, and I kept running back and forth. And finally, Keith Kevin, who was the production guy, turned around. He goes, "Wilko, if they're not on stage in 2 minutes, I'm pulling the plug. They're not playing." So I went back in and I said, "Okay, you got 2 minutes." He's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, it's your slot. It's your time to go on." So they went on, and that was actually the last time they played together, and it was fantastic. I mean,
yeah, I've got a clip of it which we'll play, but this was in May 14th, 1988. This gig, and I remember it at the time, and you can get it on DVD or whatever, or Blu-ray. Led Zeppelin headlined, although they were shambolic, I believe, like zero rehearsal. I mean, you must have been standing watching from the wings, I would imagine.
Well, the funny thing is, I wasn't even with the band. I got the call to come and help out. I think they wanted somebody who was going to punch somebody in the face to make sure they all happened, So I was on the farm in Connecticut, so I just went up there for the day. It was really funny because I kept stealing Phil Collins's champagne to try to get it calm down,
Of course, Genesis were there. Yeah, Genesis.
Yeah, Genesis was there, and was in Phil's dressing room, and I just kept fucking stealing it. I just said, "Fuck, I don't care." So I kept giving the guys champagne. I was like, "Come on, guys, it's your last gig together. Let's have a good time with it, And then finally, Pud, who looks after Genesis, was like, "Hey, Wilkie, can you leave us some champagne for the band?" I went, "Yeah." I think we drank a lot,
Was it the good stuff though? Was it the?
Oh
good
yes,
stuff?
it was a dome. It was a dome,
Yeah, none of this baby sham shit.
Oh yeah, none of that cheap shit for those guys,
Yeah. So this gig was Led Zeppelin, Genesis, yes, Foreigner were there. I don't know if you were working with Foreigner at that time.
No, it wasn't, but it was fantastic because I walked by and Lou looked at me, and I think I mentioned before I worked for Foreigner, I used to always bump into the band in Atlantic Records, I'm kind of like winked at each other. We never really spoke. We just like, "Yeah, how you doing?" They knew who I was with, and I knew who he was, obviously,
Yeah.
And then Mick was there, all the local, because when I toured with Foreigner, I was the last one with the last original band, So yeah, Foreigner was there. It was a big gig,
It was a big deal at the time.
Yeah.
40 years of Atlantic. They had a lot of like Roberta Flack, Benny King.
I was fixing to ask who was the oldest performer that performed at that one.
You know what? I wouldn't have a clue because when you're backstage, you don't do much but backstage stuff.
Right.
The only thing I saw, I know I didn't look at one of the bands that was playing.
I know Benny King was there, and he must have been fairly advanced in age.
Yeah.
Wilson Pickett.
Uh-huh.
The Spinners, the Coasters. There was a lot of the 50s bands that started out with Atlantic.
I was fixing to say, because Atlantic Records been around for a long time. I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, who could have been playing for them in the late 80s, that could still do a show.
Well, I think the more up-to-date artists, and Wilko might correct me, would be people like Debbie Gibson.
Oh God!
I know exactly.
Don't run him off the stream.
Wait,
come on, guys. Let's talk about music.
These guys were here.
What kind of music do you usually have here?
Oh, we got both kinds. We got country and western.
Those guys were there, the Blues Brothers.
Right.
So So I've got a little clip of the Average White Band here we're going to play, and I like it because Hamish Stewart is in a kilt, so this is why it's worth playing. There he is, good Scottish lad. So Darius has mentioned the intro. It sounds a bit like something Prince would have done. I would imagine Prince would have loved this record growing up. Pick up the pieces.
doubt.
Yeah, but yeah, I love that kilt on Hamish there. What a fine specimen of a man.
By the way, that's the first time he wore that.
Did you ever wear a kilt, Wilko? I know you're not Scottish, but
Nah.
no, it never showed your legs.
No, I didn't want people looking up my kilt.
Anyway, that was the Average White Band at the Atlantic Records 40th. So you were kind of in there in an unofficial capacity, I guess? Or
You know,
were
I can't remember if the record label asked me to do it or if the band did. And they must not have been touring. And I must have been in between tours. So, and I was in Connecticut because once the gig was over, the band within 10 minutes kind of left the building. And I had a lot of friends, a lot of roadies there. And I think I just said to myself, well, you know what? I did my gig and, looked at the watch and I went, I've got a train. Madison Square Garden, it's not far from Penn Station. So I just jumped on the train and went back to Connecticut. I didn't see Foreigner. I didn't see all the biggies after us. I just said,
right, because Foreigner actually put in pretty good performance, which I've got a video clip of. But by the way, I should just mention on Rumble, we are now number 2 in the entertainment list on the front page of Rumble right now.
Nice.
Which is awesome. No idea how many people are watching, but we're at number 2.
Okay.
Which is pretty good. So Darius mentions if it's not Scottish, it's crap.
If it's no Scottish, it's crap!
This is Scotland at the time the temperature dropped.
We, on the other hand, are colonised by wankers.
The trouble with Scotland is that it's full of Scots.
That's enough of that. How about the Bay City Rollers, Wilko? Did you ever meet the Bay City Rollers?
No, never went to them, never saw them, never had a drink with them.
You lucky guy.
Little Jimmy, wasn't he in them? From
Wings? No, Jimmy McCullough was never near the Bay City Rollers. That would have been a career ender.
Who was he with, though?
He was with Stone the Crows, wasn't he? Stone the Crows and Thunderclap Newman.
Oh, there you go. Thunderclap.
Yeah. I don't think he would have soiled himself by stooping as low as the Rollers.
Yeah.
And by the way, we have 7 people watching us on Rumble right now. So
we do.
Hello to you guys.
Well, that's what it says, but later on it suddenly goes boom when you look at it afterwards. It's Rumble analytics are really poor. Well, I'd love it though if anyone in Rumble would leave a chat. Just let us know you're there. We can read them out. Can't put them up on the screen like we can do with the YouTubes, but we will read them out here. Yeah, so in that period then of the Atlantic 40th, what was your relationship with Atlantic Records like over the years? You must have had to deal an awful lot with those guys, like the promotion guys there or whatever.
Yeah, we built up a great relationship. I mean, for me anyway, Daniel Marcus is living in Los Angeles. I've known him for 48 years. I think I mentioned it last time. When I was putting tours together, my first stop was Atlantic Records, because before I started booking flights and everything else, I wanted to make sure that we got as much radio play, because that's what it was all about in the 70s. You know, radio play, get to the next gig. I mean, I think I mentioned it as before. Sometimes it was a bit too much, but I'd sit there with the OAG, which was the airline pilot book, and we'd sit there and we'd go, okay, we get this flight, we get picked up, we go straight to that station, this station, and 4 o'clock we're in the gig. You know, we built up a great relationship with Atlantic Records. You know, it was just fantastic. You know, I'm a American.
I was going to say, did you meet him on many occasions?
Oh yeah, many.
The Average White Band were a big selling band in the 70s, so they must have had a lot of love and attention from Atlantic.
He actually came out to Connecticut when we were rehearsing once. Just turned up, you know, just, how you doing? And we're like, what the fuck's he doing here, you know? And when you see the Mr. Powerful, you know, you're like, have we done something wrong? Is he firing us? What's he hasn't got a big checkbook with him, has he? You know.
That's right. Pink slip.
Fun.
Pink slips.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty cool because
more about that conversation though, which I'll get into later, not today.
Yeah. What about the producers though? I mean, who was the main producer for the Average White Band in that 70s period? Was it Tom Dowd or?
It was Arif Mardin.
Oh, it was Arif Mardin. Oh, geez,
yeah.
another big guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and we used to go over to his house for Christmas parties. I was still living at the Mayflower Hotel, and Arif lived on Central Park West. So I could just walk about 10 blocks and there I was, you know.
So
but no, we were very close, very close. Gene Paul.
Yeah.
Gene Paul. Les Paul's son.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So those
worked
parties
for us.
must have had a lot of artists over the years at them. I would imagine you met.
Very tight. I think I mentioned before, it was like when I went into the Atlantic Studios the first week in New York, I mean, I was Aretha Franklin, which Arif did. Bee Gees, which Arif did. The Average White Band. It was Roberta Flack, you know, I mean, Donny Hathaway. I mean, they were all in there. It was just like you walking past people going, who's that? Who's that? You know.
Just thinking about it though, you're meeting people like Aretha Franklin and you're from Hartlepool. Was there any communication problems with some of these acts because of accents?
No, I mean, she was, well, when I first got there, you couldn't understand the word I was talking about, I must admit. But I think I took my times. I mean, you know, the average whites was so Scottish. It was like, so I don't know how the fuck she understood us. You know, and then you go to Geordie. Well, but no, the vocals was good. I mean, it's the same as Michelle, my wife. It's like when she first met me, she still says now, she look at TV and I love my English detectives and she's going, what are they saying? And I'm like, what do you mean? What are they saying? Speaking English, for Christ's sake, you know.
Well, I get that all the time too. You know, why don't you talk English? I am speaking English.
But you know, the first Jag, was it the Jag or the BMW? And it was a big commercial about it. And they were like, well, you got to talk to your car or something and ask them questions and all this. And the whole thing was like, is it in English or Scottish? Or what's it going to be like for like a Scotsman going, oh, can you turn that fucking TV on? And, you know, and it was kind of funny. This whole thing of the radio of like, the first car that you had to talk to, I turn it on and this and that and turn the wipers on and all that. So yeah, the language barrier, kind of fun to have around
I
you.
mean,
but
to this day, you must get people wherever you go, because I get it, and I've been in Canada for 20 plus years. Oh, where are you from?
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you talk in a store, oh, where are you from?
Well, you know, I just finished Uber, and everybody got in the car. Most of them were like, "Oh, are you English?" I'm going, "Yeah." What did you do? Why are you here? And the question was, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I used to say to everybody.
Isn't that why all of them get into it?
Middle age, and then I started telling them stories about the road and all that. I mean, doing our podcast, Rock and Roll Rowdies, and you guys, thank you very much for getting involved with all of this. Our numbers are definitely going up with followers, but most of the time I won't let the bastards out of the car until they go online with either YouTube or Facebook or something and going, Rock and Roll Rowdies, ROW, get on it, you know, and like, okay, we listen. No, you listen. I want you to follow, you know.
Yeah, just throw that up there to remind people, and the links are going up in the chat as the bot kicks in. Rock and Roll Rowdies on YouTube. Find the channel. It is YouTube at Rock and Roll Rowdies, and check out you've got a lot of videos up there right now. A lot of stuff.
I think we got 53 episodes.
Yeah, so
they've got a Facebook page too, though, don't they?
They do.
Yeah, got a Facebook.
They do.
They do. I'm not on Facebook, so I can't cut and copy.
I understand that, but you know what? There's a lot of folks our age on Facebook, buddy, and they
I'm
really
not as old
relate
as
to
you,
this
Joe,
stuff.
so you know,
Yeah.
I'm not a boomer.
Oh, man, I'm not a boomer either. I'm X.
Well, actually, yeah,
I'm
I'm kind of on the verge. I'm in that kind of.
I was fixing to say you are a boomer. I'm at the cutoff. I'm X. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but yeah, Wilko was people in the chat saying, "What a time to be alive! To be a lad from Hartlepool, to be hanging out with Arif Mardin, to go to the Atlantic Records 40th and hang out with people like Aretha Franklin. I just can't begin to imagine what that would be like, especially as a music fan, you know."
Well, you know, growing up in Hartlepool, I mean, it was all R&B stuff, Temptations, Botox, Spinners, you know, on and on and on. Marvin Gaye, you know, which eventually I met Marvin Gaye and did some shows with him, you know, and I was just looking at it going, that's Aretha Franklin, you know, and I can touch her. But she was shouting at me, where's the AWB, man? Where's AWB? I'm going, because I was like average white band. AWB came in later, and I'm going, what is she talking about? You know,
This is some kind of drug.
Yeah, who the fuck is AWB? You know,
Who's got the AWB?
Yeah, right. You know, but also I think being in the business, and especially in London. Now, remember London, that 5 years. I mean, in the speakeasy, I'd be sitting talking to Robert Plant. I'd be talking to Robert Palmer. I'd be talking to Mitch Mitchell. You know, Phil Lynott was a good friend of ours. All the Deep Purple guys, all the Black Sabbath guys. And it wasn't like, can I get a picture taken? It was never thought of that because you were working in the business.
It was a job, yeah.
It was a job, and that's what it was for me. I wasn't like, oh man, I'm sitting next to Phil Lynott, you know. All of a sudden, Phil Lynott was out drinking with me every effing night. It was brilliant, you know.
I know, that would have been awesome. So I just wanted to thank our great friend Christian Delorme, fantastic support of the channel and streams with us sometimes. I find the more Macallan I drink, the clearer Brian sounds. Cheers. You know, I find the more Macallan I drink, the less clear I speak. So that's... And a little video to thank our great friend Christian. Love those guys.
Love those mashups, man. They're too good.
Yeah. James Brown, though. So we were talking to Granny about the fact he did the Zaire 74 gig. I don't think he didn't particularly meet James Brown, I don't think. But did you ever come across the Godfather of Soul?
Never met the guy. Never came across music. When you were in the States in the 70s, the biggest hotel was the Holiday Inns. The Holiday Inn was it for rock and rollers. And I remember checking in New Mexico somewhere, and I look on the counter, and it was like, in the ballroom tonight, photos. I'm like, are you kidding me? You know, we had a night off, so we went and hung the Four Tops that night. And about a week and a half later, the Temptations. And then a month later, you know, the Detroit Spinners. It's
just
like,
in the hotel there.
Yeah, they were actually playing, they were gigging in these hotels on top of being on tour. The hotels were putting all these great bands on, you know. And it was all R&B stuff, for me anyway. I mean, I never saw any heavy rock bands because in the 70s, yeah, they were coming over, you know, the Bad Companies and the Stones, obviously, and you know, but you would never get to see them at the Holiday Inn, you know what I mean? But it was an ongoing. Yeah.
Sorry, I was like, I saw the Deftones at a Holiday Inn one time.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, I think that's because of Keith Moon. Rock bands were banned from Holiday Inns eventually.
Right. Well, no, it was the same room setup, no matter which city you were in.
Yeah.
And I think B.B. King used to love going to them because he understood, you know, and where he was going. A lot of those older guys were like, yeah, let's just go to the Holiday Inn. I mean, you know, we're downtown. We could walk outside. We go to the coffee shop, you know. They didn't have to have the big high-end money nonsense, you know.
No.
Like, Holiday Inn, what's the big deal, you know?
On the other hand, didn't you forget where you were? I mean, they all look the
Right,
same.
they all look the same.
I'll tell you what, after quite a few nights, I woke up and went, where the fuck am I? I was looking around the room.
Mate. I still do that.
Yeah. Where am I? What state am I? Well, I know I'm in a terrible state, but what state am I in? I mean, when you can't remember if you're in Cleveland or Chicago, you know, it's a bit too much.
Yeah, so just we were talking about Foreigner a little bit, and so how did you get involved, and when did you get involved with these guys? Because this is Joe and I. This is one of our favorite bands.
The greatest rock band ever. Don't ever forget it.
We love Foreigner. Yeah.
No, the great guys. I got the call. You know, I don't know what. Yeah, you'll know the year, but I would.
I think you were around about. You said it was around about the sort of 87, 88 period.
Yeah, around about there. And unless I got my resume in front of me, I can't remember dates. I don't know why.
Lou Gramm you did Lou Gramm solo stuff as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It was you know, it was one of those phone calls, and as I said before, we used to always bump into each other in Atlantic Records. So off I went down to the office, and obviously these guys bought the office early days because Bud Prager would be up in the office, and you go, well, just go down to the studio. Like I knew where I was going. I was like, what studio? Downstairs. That's where the studio is. So I went down to the studio, and he's all the band where I know Mick Jones, you know. And I'm like, hi, guys. And we're like, oh, are you come for the job interview? Right? Rick Wills was really funny about it. We're going,
oh,
yes.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, it was funny. She was like, yes, can I have a job, please? I've got no money. I've got nothing to buy a pint with. And of course, you know, Lou and the guys were like, well, as far as we're concerned, you got the gig, but let's see what Mick says, you know. So about 20 minutes later, Mick popped in, and he goes, yeah, okay. So off I went over Foreigner. I did all the big European open-air concerts.
And did you do Japan as well? Or?
I did Japan later on. We went to Japan. You know, the usual. But with Foreigner, we did like 5 or 6 shows in Tokyo. I mean, they were pretty big. And what I liked about Foreigner is they always finished off with "I Want to Know What Love Is," and no matter what country they were in, they used to, from the office used to find a choir.
Oh yeah. I've seen them a few times, and
from a school or whatever, and they would come on stage, and that was the first time I actually saw it.
That's awesome, man.
To see it in Japan, I was like, what? And there's like 30 little Japanese kids. They couldn't speak English, but they could sing, I want to know what love is. It was like,
that's right. They could do it phonetically.
Wow. That is awesome, using local talent during your show. That's awesome.
All the time. Everywhere they went, they were really humble, these guys. They were just really into the music. They wanted to do the gig, get out of the gig, move on, get to the next one. You know, it was fantastic, you know.
No, I know you didn't see them at the gig, but I've got a clip of them at the 40th.
Oh, there you go.
40th, and it's the same lineup, so let's just play a few seconds of that, because it's kind of what you were dealing with at the time.
First album.
There you go. Yeah, that was the band I toured with.
Yeah,
Oh,
Rick
man.
Willis was still in the band as bass player.
Yep.
I think some of the others had moved on, but I love Rick. Rick, he's always been great on stage. The times I've seen him when he used to be in the band, fun guy. He always comes across as so enthusiastic.
Well, it's the English humor as well. I mean, he was so funny. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember going to the toilet, and we both went to the toilet in Japan. And of course, all the urine is, what you piss into is called Toto. And he goes, and he's like, "Oh, what a great band that was." He goes, "Look, they must be selling the merchandise in the toilet."
Yeah, maybe he thought he was in Kansas.
Yeah, it was really funny. He goes, "Look, they're even selling piss."
Sorry, I jumped
That was
ahead.
funny.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that a lot of people talk about Mick Jones and that you can be, I don't know, I wouldn't expect you to dish the dirt, God forbid, that he can be quite difficult. Was he definitely the leader and it had to be his way?
He was definitely, well, it was his band. I mean,
Yeah.
it was his band. And there's a couple of times he was a bit awkward, but yet again, I think it was the English thing because I just look at him and go, "Mick, come on, what are we doing here?" And he used to always come around. He always knew when he was a bit off, but he wasn't that bad at all. He was just
Okay, yeah.
it was Mick being Mick, and he either walked away from it or would get into a fight if he wanted to go that way. But I used to just deal with him. This is what we're doing. This is how we're traveling. When we did the European stuff, we got all these BMWs. And it was about 2 days before I booked the tour buses. Well, no, it was about a week. I was going to get a couple of tour buses, and BMW called Bud Prager and said, "Hey, we don't mind sending a driver with each car." I think we're only driving 150 miles, 300 miles tops to the next gig, And I'm like, "No, I don't want fucking 5-6 Beamers flying all over the place." One gets in an accident, one gets broken down. The tour manager was kicking in, and of course the band went, "Fuck you, Wilkie, we're going to get the Beamers." I was like, okay.
Yeah, but did they get to keep them?
No, that's the problem.
Yeah, but that's the kind of thing. Yeah, keep the rock stars happy. Give them some Beamers.
Yeah, I mean, what about Mick? I mean, I was in Mick's car,
Yeah,
and he was like, I want to drive. I was like, "No, you can't drive. You're not insured." He drove, the driver's sitting behind me,
Yeah,
But
because Granny was talking about something to do with taping Mick Jones's legs to a keyboard when he was on stage or something. I don't know if that was a different era.
It was a different era thing. No,
Yeah.
he had, when I was with him, he had the original road crew from the 70s when I started. And I think some of those guys had a bit more of a diva going around than Mick did. They were, "Oh, we need this, we need that." And of course, I was telling them all to fuck off, Get in the bus, let's go,
Yeah, the one thing I say to people when they say, "Oh, I've heard that Mick Jones is really difficult to say," well, maybe, but he did get to party with Brigitte Bardot several times.
There you go.
What can you say about that?
Whoa.
Yep.
Well, when he worked with Johnny Hallyday for all those years in France, Johnny Hallyday and Brigitte Bardot were pretty tight. And he used to go to with Johnny Hallyday as his right-hand man to all those parties. They'd hang out together on yachts and whatever. He met he met Brigitte Bardot many times and all those other great French ladies of that era. So I think he had a pretty good time in the 60s.
60s, man, you can't beat it.
Yeah, and I agree with the Sentinel. Foreigner kick Journey's ass any day. So,
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So
believe we already established they're the greatest ever. Thank you.
Yeah. I've gotten to see him twice, but that's only in since it was 2013 and 2019, so it wasn't like the original
It's
band
the
members or
Kelly,
anything.
yeah, the current
Yeah.
band, yeah. Which I love. I love the current band in terms of musicianship. They're all really good.
Yeah.
But
I got to see them when they were all together doing their they and this is what I was going to tell Wilko about. I don't know if he was running them then. I don't when did you finish up with them?
Oh God,
It was in the 70s, right?
No, 90s.
Yeah.
This is the late
No, it was the 90s.
80s, late
90s. Okay. Well,
80s.
they did a date at Cowboys. I can't remember. It's either 90 or 91. And I was a bartender there. And this place had a 3-tier dance floor with a tunnel going underneath it, right? And that was the backstage area in the back of the place. It held like 1,000 people, right? And this place, I'm telling you, had 1,500 in there that night, and not one fight broke out. Everybody was into the music, and they were just having a ball, right? But I was also getting the ice for the bar I was working at. I was bartending, but we ran without a bar back. It's weird. I won't get into it, but I had to go get ice, and it's right by the backstage area. And it was about the time that the drummer was doing a solo, right? So I go to get the ice. I fill up the bucket. I come out. I'm rushing, and I looked right at the right time because Mick Jones is standing there with the guy holding his guitar, and he's about to run up the stairs, right? And he looks at his roadie and he goes, "I love this fucking shit." And he grabs the fucking guitar and goes running up the goddamn stairs and started wailing on the guitar. And I'm standing there like a caveman seeing fire for the first time. I was like, "Holy shit! I can't believe I just saw that." It was awesome. I'm one of the biggest fans of the band ever, and I could not believe I got to see him actually.
And Joe, we've talked about it many times, but we're definitely going to do a complete Foreigner show one day.
Oh yeah, one of these days.
Especially if we can get Lou to come on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if we could do that, Wilko. I don't know. I don't know if it's possible.
Well, when we did those festivals throughout Germany and all over, we were talking about 50, 70,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, for me, I think it was the biggest I've done. And I was just looking out going, what the fuck? And it was fantastic because the foreigner guys and the foreigner music was so huge. I mean, all my roadie friends were walking past me with Jethro Tull, like, "Wilko, what are you doing?" "I'm a foreigner." What? And
jealousy.
It was just they were just humongous, I mean, Jethro Tull supporting. It was all these different bands supporting foreigners. Incredible.
Yeah, those. Yeah, I mean, were you tour manager or?
I was tour manager. I was. They had a separate guy doing the money, which really helps because there's so much going on. The bigger the band's got, and the management would be like, "Okay, you got to do it all." But after a while, like Linda Ronstadt, I was the tour accountant. The Allman brothers, I was tour accountant. So
we're going to talk about Linda in a minute. Yeah, it must have been a major operation physically doing those international tours, global tours, even in that era, which was probably more sophisticated than the 70s when you started.
Well, I wouldn't. To me, I wouldn't say so because yet again, it was always pre-planned. And once you got the flights booked and the hotels booked, the infrastructure was very simple. It was like you get picked up in a limousine, you get taken from the airport to the hotel. From the hotel, you go to the gig, you do a sound check, you stay at the gig, and then after the gig, you get back in the fucking limo, you go back to the hotel, you drink till you drop, and you get up next day and you go to the next gig. It's all phone calls. I mean, I used to get up at 5, 6 in the morning every day even if I advanced 2 days ago, I used to always advance and get up early the day of. So I would call the hotel, the next city. I would call Atlantic Records. I would call the limousine company. I'd call all the old boilers we were going to see, and just
great English term there, the boilers. Yeah.
And then, then I'd start calling the hotel that I'm staying at. Okay, get all the records ready. We'll check it out. check the limousine companies. Limousines were the big thing in the 70s. A lot of bands used to just jump in them and off they went.
Did you still do all the radio and TV as well? Were you in charge of
Oh
that?
yeah, we did. I never left their side, but 8 years, 9 years, I was right there with them, and and I loved the radio station. It was something I'd never seen, and but I tell you what, though, after about 8 years, I was like fucking sick of this stuff. Can we just go to the pub, But it's a learning process in the business of like when we went on stage, because there was no visual in the 70s. Our audience was African American, black, whatever you want to say, and they would look on stage and go, "They're white." They had no idea that the average white man was white.
I think the clue's in the name, though.
Yeah, and meeting them backstage, they were just like, "Oh my God," and it was just fantastic. I mean, being in the business, it was just, I loved every second of it.
Of course, mate. Thank you to everybody that's here in the chat. Please, if you've got questions for Wilko, throw them in the chat here on YouTube and on Rumble. We are now at number one on the entertainment tab on the front page of Rumble, and we've reached the live tab. So we're on the front page twice on Rumble right now in this stream. So keep it up. Anyone on Rumble watching, leave a chat. I want to read them out. I want to talk to you guys. But thank you, everybody, for chatting here on YouTube. I just wanted to, before we move on to Linda Ronstadt, as I'd like to, to say that first time I saw Foreigner was in the 4 tour. So it'd be like 1980 at the Birmingham NEC.
Wow.
Phenomenal gig. Robert Plant walked in front of me, because I was sitting on an aisle, and he just walks along there, and he walks up and he goes backstage, and everyone's going, "That was Robert Plant." I was like, "Robert Plant, I could have touched him." He's a brummie like some of those guys were. So he's that was a great night. I mean, I was 17 or something, and that was the 4 tour was brilliant. Absolutely loved it. And I've seen them multiple times since, but that was still a sweet memory. But yeah, you worked also in a kind of around about this period. You worked with Linda Ronstadt, and was it during this sort of trio stuff, or was it she was doing her mariachi thing as well? Was that?
That was the mariachi. I think the album was called Rose, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, stuff like this she was doing.
Yeah, that was it. That was it.
So how did that come about? Was that tour management again, or accountancy? You said you
were doing I was tour accountant, and William Morris called me up on this one. In fact, I was in between the Foreigner, and they gave me this because I remember finishing with Linda in New York, doing the accountants at William Morris, and then I walked 6 blocks into rehearsals with Foreigner, and the rehearsals was just before we went to Japan, So I used to bounce around, like 1 tour finish, 1 tour start. It was non-stop. But being in a mariachi and watching all of this, I had so much fun, because I just did money. I didn't have the day-to-day stuff. At some point, I was just driving my own car and doing my own thing. I didn't get into tour buses, none of that stuff. I was just on my way,
But you still got you still went around with the tour most of the time.
Oh yeah. Because sometimes during the box office of some of these wallies, it's 3 or 4 hours to 4 or 5 hours, depending. I mean, if it was a straightforward 50 grand, 200 grand, whatever. But if it was percentages, you had to go through everything,
So I'm just going to play a little clip of that era of Linda Ronstadt. Since I'll probably bring back a few memories, Wilko.
Yeah.
That was you doing that, wasn't it?
That was me doing all the background.
Ya no me cantes cigarra,
If Polly Latino Slant was only here.
Right?
I know.
What a voice.
What I want to know is what was the hat budget like? You were the accountant.
But the tour had already been going on for about 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice stuff though.
Oh, it's beautiful, beautiful. I actually went down to Mexico, places I never even heard of.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because the main thing was the box office, and the band didn't go, the mariachis didn't go, and it was all playback. It was weird.
Right.
Really?
Weird,
Wow.
weird. And a horse, and somebody walk around on a horse, and she was singing, you know, lip syncing to some of the songs. She'd do about 3 to 4 songs, and it was all at the bull rides and all that stuff.
Right, right.
You know, so I'm backstage, and this guy walks past me like this. I'm like, and it's all blood, and he just had his ear ripped off by the bull, you know. And I'm like, okay, this is right where I want to be, you know. Oh, it was crazy.
Are you sure he wasn't the last tour accountant to ask to be paid by the
Yeah,
promoter?
right. Okay, get on that bull, Wilko. Get on that bull. Yeah, right.
Yeah, your money's in that ring. Just head in there and.
Yeah. But she'd go off and do like 3 or 4 offs, and then come back onto the tour.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
the mariachi guys then did the American stuff, but they didn't go to Mexico.
No, because it was all, as I said, they'd do about 2 or 3 to 4 playback, and they'd send them to the next gig.
Right.
And we'd go off. There was me and the tour manager, and the assistant and the makeup, and then we would just do, like, as I said, it was only like 4 or 5 days, and then we're back on. I did it once, you know, and I saw Mexico like I never saw Mexico before. You know, it was great. But that was it.
So no donkey shows in Juarez or anything like that. No.
No, I have no idea. No idea. I was just getting into. The tour manager was Mexican. He was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was Peter Asher's company. Peter Asher was the manager.
Ah, Peter Asher.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know who Peter Asher is, in the 60s, well, he's Jane Asher's brother, first of all. So Jane Asher,
Right.
who went out with Paul McCartney for many years, but he was also in Peter and Gordon.
Peter and Gordon.
The duo,
Yeah.
a singing duo, had a number of hits, and were on Saturday Night Live, and Ed Sullivan, all that stuff. And then he went into A&R and management.
Yeah, he was. He managed James Taylor, and he was also a great director producer in the studio. He actually did, because I went with Peter and I took Cher around LA for a while, driving her around, and he had a lot of different projects was going on. He lived in Malibu at the time. I was living in Santa Monica, so I'd drive down, pick him up in his Jag, and take him to the studios and things like that. You know,
Fairly nice bloke, was he?
lovely, lovely person. Lovely person, you know.
I remember the big hit, A World Without Love.
Uh-huh.
Please lock me away and don't forget the day. And probably even written by Paul McCartney, I don't know. But yeah, Peter Asher, he did the right thing, got behind the scenes instead of out front of the camera.
He really kept, he was a gentleman. That's the word I want to use. He was totally 100% gentleman, you know. Nothing fazed him. He just, you know, if he was on stage or if he was going into the studio, it was like all business. Let's get this done with, you know. Let's get
What
out
are your
of here.
memories of working with Linda then? Was you know, a good experience?
No, it was nothing but brilliant. I mean, there was never a problem. It was like straightforward. She was just a sweetheart to be around. And I spent a lot of time with her, actually.
Oh, don't show that picture, bro. I was so in love with her. Oh, my
She
gosh.
was young.
Beautiful.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Stone 20s, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
The musicians that she hung around with and had playing with her. If you saw that list, oh, my God. There's so many people. Jackson Brown, the 2 guys behind the Eagles. I mean, good Lord, so many people. And she's played. I mean, is there a genre of music she has not entered? I don't know that there is. She's sung country. She did the mariachi stuff. She sung opera. She sung it all. rock and roll. I mean, shoot.
She had a great rock and roll voice. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant.
Well, what was that album where she's on the rollerblades and she's got the little shorts on?
Oh, stop it. I'm leaving now. I'm leaving now. I'm going to get in trouble.
This is when she did the country thing with Emmylou Harris and Dolly Parton trio. That was great. That was probably just before you were working with her, I guess, or just after.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You see, when I was touring, I mean, I would finish, like as I said, I finished with Linda, went to William Morris, gave him all the accounts, and my next thought was 5 blocks away, I'm going to rehearsals with Foreigner. Walk straight in, boom. Okay, guys, we go to Japan. This is how we're doing it. This is when we leave. What do you need? And you get right into it. There's so much to do and so much to overlook, you know. And then yet again, you know, you go to Atlantic Records. Hey, I'm taking the boys to Japan. What are we doing when we get there? Who do I meet? Is anybody from Atlantic going to show up? Is there such a thing as Atlantic in Japan, you know?
And yeah, I mean, Japan it must have been a whole different animal taking a band there.
Well, it was. I mean, first of all, you're on the trains. We call them this.
The bullet train.
The bullet trains.
Yeah.
So your luggage, all the baggage has got to go the night before. You know, so that was like, oh, are you kidding me? It's like, no, they need it now. Because, you know, remember in Japan, they had small things, small trucks.
Yeah.
You know, so they'd get there and all that stuff goes in the baggage area on the train. It doesn't go above you in Amtrak and British Rail and all that stuff, you know. It's a bullet train. It's, you know, so you'd have a little hand luggage. That was it, you know.
Yeah. Just the language barrier in trying to get anything done. Although I guess most of the people he dealt with spoke English pretty well.
Yeah, no, I worked with a guy called Johnny who worked for Uno. And Uno's still going. I mean, he's promoted in Japan, you know. And I did the Average White Band with Uno. And there's always somebody speaking English. Always somebody. No matter where I toured with what band worldwide, there was always somebody in Italy, France, Germany, whatever, spoke English.
You must have done some gigs at the Budokan with Foreigner.
Budokan?
Yeah, in Tokyo.
Is that in Scotland?
That's a beer can, not a Budokan in Scotland.
Oh.
No, the Budokan where the Beatles obviously played many years ago, and Cheap Trick did that brilliant album. Oh, did you ever meet Cheap Trick, by the way?
No.
Oh, that's a shame. One of my favorite bands. But yeah, that would have been a lot of fun. But one of the things we just briefly mentioned is you'd kind of moved on from rock and roll. But in a sense, you did. You started doing other stuff. Which is fascinating. You moved into other areas, and one of those things that's on your resume is that you worked with Image Comics.
Yes.
In '93. So, how did you get into that from being rock bands and into this new comics startup?
Well, I took a year off, and I was in England. Took a year off, so I was just in England, and basically, back in those days, Air India were the only people who would allow you to book your return flight a year later. I got a call from Air India going, well, you know, you got 3 weeks. And I was kind of getting ready to come back to the States. And I was like, oh, okay, I got to go back to the States. I better find a gig. And I was staying with my sister Susan in London. And all of a sudden the phone goes, and I pick up, and it's Steve Masarsky, who was the business manager of the Allman Brothers. And so we obviously worked together. He goes, Wilkie, are you working? I'm going, no, I'm just about to come back to the States. What have you got going on? He goes, I own Valiant Comics.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, oh, well, Valiant was the first people that did rock and roll comics. They did Aerosmith. And not that I knew at that time. I didn't know a thing about comics apart from the Dandy and the Beano.
Oh, yeah.
Right, which were English comics. And I was like, okay, so what do I do? He goes, well, you got to go on tour, but you got to come into New York and book the tour because we need to do 5 gigs a day. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? He goes, oh, these artists go out and sign up to 3,000 to 5,000 autographs. I'm like, and you want to do 5 shows a day? He goes, yeah, because I don't know what he was, and I did the box office, but I can't remember what they were getting paid. And we must have had 20 comic companies screaming in every city, we want to do it, we want to do it, we want to do it. And I was just like, I just looked at the mileage. And I'm like, okay, an hour from this comic company. So I gave it an hour from each comic company because I didn't want to be 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
So was this appearances at Comic Cons, or was it going to act? Yeah,
it was Comic Cons, but it was also going to comic
book stores.
Stores, yeah.
That's what I thought. When he said he had to do 5 a day, I was like, yeah, he's going to stores. That's where he's going.
We were going to stores, and the comic guys loved it because they were like, how are we going to do this? I was like, well, if you get in the tour bus when I tell you to get in, you're going to do it. And anyway, it was the first time that we were late on one, and it was amazing. I'd have fucking kids of 10, 12 years of age. What happened was Valiant and Image Comics combined together. So there was two different companies doing the same thing. So I'd have 4 guys from Valiant and 4 guys from Image, and we'd change people out. Okay, he can only do Cleveland. He'll do 5 days, and somebody will fly in. Jim Lee and fly out, all that kind of stuff. And with me doing rock and roll, all of a sudden they're going to me, have everybody put their arms out and put 5 comics on each arm. We're going to walk the line. And I'm like, you can't walk the line. They went, we do it all the time. It's not rock and roll, it's comics. And we want to make sure that everybody gets his signature. So I'm arguing with all these housewives. I'm going, look, we're late. It happens. My kid's been stood in line for 2 hours. I'm going, you got to get in line. Do the line. But the kids knew it. And they're like, oh, you're going to walk the line? It was so weird. I was like, yeah, I'm going to walk the line, man. You know what? It was like you start from the door of the comic store and you walk all the way around the building and come back to the door. And these kids, as soon as they got the autographs, they were gone. I never saw anything like it. It was kind of cool, actually.
But this is like organizing a full-scale rock tour. You're going from city to city doing this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I was in New York for about 2 weeks, I think, 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that. And I was calling all the comic companies, and they were arguing with me and screaming at me. And I looked at Steve and went, what is this shit? He goes, everybody wants, it's like everybody wants the band. Everybody wants these guys in this store. And the whole thing was, well, I sell more comics than that guy you're going to. And I'm going, yeah, but he's got a bigger store that I can actually set all this up. You can't just be cramped in the back of the warehouse, So you have to work it out of how much space do you have? How are we going to set this up? We're there for an hour. Every place was an hour. That was
the materials, and having enough of materials on board, like the comics themselves.
Oh yeah, well these guys had every comic they had. I mean, because they were selling them. They were selling them off the counters.
Was this guys like Todd McFarlane and Mark Silvestri, or was it?
Yeah. McFarlane. There was Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee. That's all I can remember.
Jim Lee would have been there. Yeah,
there was 5 of them, and they were doing like
Eric Larson, maybe.
Yes. They were doing like 500,000 comics a week. Wow. It was sick. It was sick shit.
It was a huge that when Image came out, that was the heyday, man. That was huge. Yeah, it was. I remember that.
I've got a couple of collected things in the garage there that I have. But I must have had 200 comics, and I didn't have any kids. My daughter was too old in New York. I wasn't remarried or anything, so I didn't have kids, and I was moving around so much. I just gave the fucking things away to this kid. He was like, "What?" I went, "Here, take them. They're all signed as well."
Signed as well. Wow.
Yeah. I just
whoever that kid is, got money on his hands.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
Big
that
time.
kid moved right away. I tell you.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, and I'm not a big comics guy either, but I know some of these guys are, so I thought they'd be really interested.
Right here,
in
I'm
this.
creating one. Yeah,
So,
that was huge.
Joe, who would your favorite? I mean, was Spawn was one of the only ones I really know.
Out of Image Comics, Jim Lee, because of his run with X-Men with Marvel, would probably be my favorite guy. And from all accounts that I've seen of him, he's a cool guy. You know, I don't know what your experience was with him, Wilko. I'd love to hear about it.
No, all the guys were fantastic. The problem they had, they couldn't work together.
Yeah, they're all alpha dogs. They think they're the best at what they do.
Well, they all had their own studios, right?
Mhm.
So Rob Liefeld, he was in Orange County. So when all this tour was finished, and I got everybody from A to B on time, Image turned around and went, "Can we hire you?" And I was like, "Doing what?" So like to do the comic fests and all that. I was like, "Okay." And I still was like, you know what? I might as well just take the paycheck. And Rob Liefeld had the big, what was it called? Rock something. And he had to change the name. But he had a 6-foot guy with a 10-foot caricature that he would take to the comic fests.
Okay.
And it was actually on the news. And I'm watching it, and they're talking, and this thing, whatever it was, wasn't talking, right? So he goes to me, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, he talks in comics, doesn't he?" He'd go, "Yeah." I said, "Well, when you go to these comic fests, let's make him talk." "How the fuck do you do that?" It's like, it's pretty simple, actually. So it's all I did, put a walkie-talkie inside of the outfit, put an 8-inch speaker in his chest, and then I would be outside with the other one so I could hear the reaction that was going on with all the kids. And I remember it was coming down the elevator in Chicago, and these kids were just like, Bad Rock, that's what it was named, Bad Rock. And freaking out. And
Man,
It's like-
you brought rock and roll to comics. Check you out.
So it's coming down the escalator, and I'm talking to whatever his name was, and this mother's going, "Oh, Tommy, it's okay. It's not going to hurt you. It's just a comic and all that." So when it comes down, he goes, "Tommy, how are you?" I had a little bit of reverb on it too, right? This kid fucking face just dropped a mile. It was like,
Wow.
he looked at mom and he goes, "How does he know my name?" And the mother's going, "I have no idea." So I was in the audience listening to all the interactions with the kids, because there was the grown-ups, but most of them were kids of like 10 to 15 that age, you know.
Wilko,
And,
that's awesome, man. That is
yeah,
awesome.
I'd be talking to him, and he'd be talking to all the kids, and they were just like, they still didn't know how it worked, you know. But it was an 8-inch speaker and a walkie-talkie. That was it.
Sounds like a sweet gig, though. Right? Different, totally different from wrangling a band around, but just
Well, you know, we
different
did. We went to Hawaii. Now listen to this. I've been to Hawaii and rock and roll so many times. I was there for 4 days. I didn't leave my room. It was so busy, just organizing. It was a confest, but it was just like there was so much going on in Hawaii at that time that I seriously, I did not get on the beat. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not so familiar as maybe Joe or John are, but were Comic Cons becoming big then? Comic fests?
Huge. They were huge. They were huge. Everybody was in costume. We'd have about, well, let's go back to Aerosmith. So Aerosmith comes out in Chicago. And Jimmy Ayers is the tour manager, a good friend of mine. And I'm like, "Jimmy, this is different than rock and roll. And I may have to turn around and say to you, we're going to walk the line, because I've got a feeling you're going to be very late for this." He's like, no. And he goes, "What's this walk the line stuff?" So I told him, he's like, "Steve Tyler won't do that at all." I was like, okay. So there's got to be 3,000 kids. So the band turn up and Tyler goes, "I want to go into Comic Fest." And I'm like, "Steve, it's going to be finished in less than half an hour." He goes, "That's where I want to go." I said, "Yeah, but you got to sign these autographs. And once all that's done, they're going to be breaking down. You can go in there, you can make deals, whatever you want. Guess what? Fuck off, Wilko. I'm Steve Tyler. So when he came back to do the autographs, guess what? There was about 100 people there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But it was like, they look at me and I'm going, it's a different ball game, guys. You know, it's not rock and roll. It's fucking comics. These kids have got to get buses home. They've got to get out of here, you know?
Yeah.
They just like looked at the kid. The kids were like, "Oh, fucking hell," you know. They all had the Aerosmith signed, you know.
Bit of a culture shock for Aerosmith, then.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the certain bands, certain people are not going to do that, you know. And as I said, with our fest, I was the same way. I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I want you guys on the fucking street with all these kids," you know.
Right.
And they're like, "No, I do it all the time," and I'm like, "Are you sure?" No, I mean, I was going to have them sign a contract to me, actually. I went, "You sure you want to do this?" They're like, "Yeah." And I just watched the guy just signed over 3,000 autographs. And as soon as the kid was signed, he was gone. So, they were just jumping in cars and the moms were taking them home, you know.
So it's just
It was
as well
amazing.
Aerosmith were sober by then, because if they hadn't been, that might have been a real disaster.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they were. I think they were, you know.
I think by then they might have been, yeah. That was
Jimmy
early 90s.
like, what the fuck was that about? I said, I've told you.
So it's interesting, you worked with Aerosmith, but on comics, not in tour
Yeah.
management.
Well, Steve Masaski was good friends with the manager back then, so that he always wanted his own comics. And he took the money from the Allman brothers, but Steve used to manage Blue something they were called.
Blue Cheer?
What's that?
It wasn't Blue Cheer, they were an older band. Blue Cheer.
No, it was in the 70s. And
Blue Oyster Cult?
Blue Oyster Cult?
Yeah, Want to Have Fun?
Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Yeah, what's the name?
I thought
that's Cyndi Lauper.
That's Cyndi Lauper, yeah.
Cyndi Lauper was the singer. And
sorry, what was the guy's name? Steve?
Steve Masaski.
He wasn't in the band City Boy, was he? Because
No. He was manager of the Allman Brothers.
All right, oh no, Cyndi Lauper's A&R guy was a guy who used to be in the band City Boy. I don't know if you remember them, British band 5705. One of the guitar player in that band, or singer, sorry, became an A&R guy for Cyndi Lauper. He wrote some of her songs. But can't remember his name right now. But anyway, different guy.
Yeah, but it was the same thing. I mean, you know, I've got dementia going on all the time. It's like I can't remember it was Blue something, that the name of this band.
There was Blue Oyster Cult.
Cyndi Lauper was in. No, it wasn't
right.
Blue.
Okay, so she was in them before. Yeah, I get it.
She was a singer.
I don't know enough about her. No.
And when I was with the Allman Brothers, and I was living in New York at the time, and Steve was like, "There's something going on with this band." He goes, "I think I'm going to take Cyndi," and you know. But just as all that was happening, somebody else approached us, so he sold off the whole thing. And believe me, he made a lot of money. And then and all of a sudden it was Cyndi Lauper, and all that band went bye bye. You know.
Well,
Blue Angel.
Blue Angel.
Blue Angel. Thank you.
So the band went bye because she became the face. Yeah.
She was.
Yeah.
Because the funny thing was, I was a Lou Gramm in Liverpool, and we were doing the Beatles songs. So Cyndi Lauper was there, and it was all these.
Right, I remember
that. I was a Lou Gramm. Kokomo was there. It was like everybody you can imagine was there. And I'm sitting talking to Cyndi, and she's looking at me and went, I worked with Steve Masaski and, you know, Allman Brothers. And she goes, "Don't you mention his fucking name to me."
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think he really, to get him away from Blue Angel, I think he got a lot of money that she didn't want to give him, you know. Which is understandable. You know, managers would, you know.
Hey,
it was all about...
Shit has happened like this throughout history. Yeah. Look at poor Pete Best.
Yeah.
You're too good looking. You're out of the band. We want Ringo.
Right.
But yeah, so just before we go into the next part of your career, I want to talk about. I just want to thank everybody again for being here. watching the show. Thanks very much, everybody. Thanks for all your chats. Keep chatting. If you got any questions, throw them in there. We did indeed. We keep bouncing in and out of the front page of Rumble. We made the front entertainment and we made the live tab. So that's pretty good. So keep that up, folks. Keep sharing, liking, hitting
And
thumbs
also,
buttons.
Wilko from the Rock and Roll Rowdies would like to thank you all as well. With all your stuff you're doing for us guys. So all of the Rock and Roll Rowdies really appreciate you guys.
Our pleasure, mate. We're loving this. We're loving it.
It's an honor.
It is. Thank you.
So are you doing Craigsy next? I can't remember.
Thursday morning on Pop Culture Minefield, it's Granny again. Next Monday, Mal Craigs is coming on this show. So Mal's the guy that worked with Genesis and Peter Gabriel and all that stuff. So I got Thursday, I got Granny. Monday is Mal, and then you're doing another Thursday with me, I think, before you go to the UK. And then when you guys are all in the studio in Torquay, I've got all of you.
Yeah. And also,
how cool.
What I'm actually doing, I'm going to go on a 6-month travel. So no matter if I'm in Spain, Portugal, south of France, Italy, or wherever I am, I can still do this.
Oh no, we're looking forward to working with you.
We still do it.
And we hope big things for the Rowdies, and we're hoping to report on that and be a little part of that, sir.
Dude, you have lived a life we are jealous of. Believe that.
God, yeah.
We did a lot. It was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work. I mean, I think the first time I said it, the 70 to 75 was my apprenticeship. So when I got the States in 75, I was kind of seasoned. And then once they gave me the tour management situation, I was there. I was like on the planet. I was, you just had to make it happen. You got 24 hours to make a show happen. And anything can happen in that 24 hours. And believe me, they have,
And it's a lot of juggling, I imagine. I mean, you're dealing with radio stations, promotions, all kinds of stuff. That's before that's hours before the show even happens. That's bizarre.
And the band is right there, and it's like people don't understand that. Every band does that, And also then they'll go, okay, well, we got a week off, and I'll be like, what are we doing? Oh, we forgot to tell you we're going back to New York. We're going to the studio again. Then you got the next album. Then you go on the road again. Then you got the
treadmill going round and round.
Continuation.
And there must be a lot of hangers on you had to deal with as well, I imagine.
No.
Not too bad. No.
With the Average White Band, none at all. It was family came along, the mums and dads and
that's nice.
The brothers and sisters. It was all nice. I mean, we talk about the Dalhousie Castle sometime, but that was the best laugh I ever had with all of the band's parents, and I would be like driving the parents home, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, some of the activities may well have been constrained by their presence.
Yeah, it was they were and they'd never been home 3 years or 2 years. And we gave them a week off in Scotland, and what a place to be,
Well, Dalhousie Castle is beautiful, yeah, beautiful. Right in my wheelhouse. But yeah, thanks to everyone for being here. I think I've got a little video to thank you.
You have our gratitude.
Just don't send them to Detroit.
Well, we could send them.
Yeah,
to Detroit.
gratitude. We're talking gratitude.
If you don't behave, this is what happens to you.
Take him to Detroit.
No, not Detroit. No, please. Anything but that.
What are your experiences of Detroit, Wilko?
Oh, really bad one with Cobo Hall.
Oh, Cobo, yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's rough. That would be rough.
That was, we had the best times. We actually went and hung out with the Spinners one night. We had lots of different people coming backstage. We had the same drivers, the same Atlantic reps. And I pull up outside the Cobo Hall, and I knew there was a problem. And We walk in there, and it was just horrible. It was a gang. I think the gang is still in Detroit. They were called the Errol Flynns, and they were raping and pillaging, literally raping and pillaging. I walked on stage, and I looked at Granny and Barry. I went, "What the fuck are you doing?" They had all the guitars out, and there was about 20 African-American black people on stage with knives. I went, "Get the fucking guitars off stage right now. It's not going to be a concert it's not going to be a show you think it's going to be a show." So I went backstage, grabbed hold of the promoter, which I was going to beat to death. And he just couldn't talk. He was just like, and I realized it was heavy. It was a heavy thing.
Yeah, Detroit's always had for a long time has had a bad reputation. I've been downtown Detroit, and you got to be careful.
These guys are at gigs stabbing people, robbing people, and raping people.
Yeah.
So I go back on stage, and there was all this handshakes going on back in those days, in the 70s. And they were putting knives out and they're doing this. And my bodyguard used to carry a 357. So I just looked at him. I said, "Listen, I don't want any fucking bullshit. Do you want, in fact, put the lights on." So as soon as the lights went on, then they were like, "Oh, people can see us." And they were like, calming down. I went, "You want us to play? Yes, we'll get the fuck off stage now." And these guys are doing this with the knives. And I went, "You see that guy over there?" And they were like, "Yeah." So he's got a 357. I'm going to blow your fucking, get off the stage, which they did. And we played 3 songs, and I went, "That's it. We're over."
Is this Average White Band?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The worst. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. With the Average White Band, when we were in Boston, we had a guy shooting at us, throwing off shotgun. The cop took him out just before he went on stage. Louisville, Kentucky, we had a guy walk up to another guy and blow his head off. So we were getting involved with a lot of racism, although we weren't racist. But there was a lot of black dealers going to the gigs, drug dealers and stuff, and they were getting into it and they were just blowing each other. And this guy was horrible. Oh.
That must have been pretty bad, but I guess there was an element of that in every big city you went to with different groups.
No. That's why I mentioned Boston, Louisville, and Detroit. The Detroit thing.
But I'm not actually from Boston anymore.
Yeah. But this guy was.
It'll stay with you, Pope.
And it was
I was going to say it never leaves you, Pope. No,
it doesn't. Sadly.
Sorry, Wilko. Go ahead.
And he was just shooting at it. He couldn't get tickets, so he thought if he shot the band, nobody would get to see him. And this cop's looking at the cop, and I'm like, "He's shooting at us. You going to shoot him?" I mean, I actually said that. He goes, "Well, I guess so." Boom. Like, okay. The band was just like, yeah, there's a lot of things that happened to the Average Whites that we didn't even think of, but nobody in America called us about Detroit. And as I said, it was well planned by the Errol Flynns. And next day, whatever we were going to, I got a call in my hotel room. And it's the Sun, the newspaper from England. And the guy's like, "Oh, I heard you had a riot last night in Detroit." My voice was actually gone, and I just went, "Can you hear my voice?" He goes, "Oh, you sound terrible." I went, "Yeah." I was screaming a lot of people goodbye. Just put the phone down. But nobody in America, because they didn't give a shit what was going on.
Yeah.
Not one newspaper, not one radio station.
Detroit was pretty bad already in that era. It wasn't unusual, so I guess it's no longer newsworthy if the city.
Well, the thing was, the police went on strike. That's why they planned it. So they knew there wasn't going to be enough police to control it.
Wow. You entered there at the perfect storm. Oh my gosh. Wow.
So they created a perfect storm, as you said. It was like well planned, more cops around. Let's go and do what? Oh, let's do the Average White Band. It could have been anybody else playing.
Could have been any band, yeah.
Yeah, could have been anybody else, but we were playing and we got the back end of that stick, Wow. But we dealt with it as best as we could. I mean, we just did three songs. I went, "That's it." The band were looking at me. I went, "Get off. Let's go."
Yeah, it's just not worth your life.
No. I don't even know if we got paid for that. I can't even remember.
I wouldn't have cared. I think I've got out with my life.
Yeah,
I'd be happy.
I think I just got out, got them in the car. Got
Head
them
over
in
the
the
border. Head over the border to Windsor and stay over there in Ontario. Yeah. But yeah, so we'll move on to something a bit happier. I hope happier times. You mentioned last time we spoke that you're actually working with the Broken Lizard guys.
Yeah.
So,
Fantastic.
so what era? I mean, are we talking? When was that? I mean, how did that come about?
Super Trooper movie.
Right.
And I never. Basically, Fox Searchlight called me, and in between my small tours and stuff, and I was like, "What is this about?" And we're like, "Well, we're gonna go and do autographs." There's another one of those autograph tours. There it is. There's the movie right there. So I was like, okay. So it was basically a promotion tour, and back in the day, no rock and rollers would paint or put posters on the tour buses. So all of a sudden, this tour bus pulls up with that on the tour bus.
Right.
And I'm looking, I'm going. So basically, you've invited everybody in every town to break in.
That's what I was wondering. Is it because they didn't want people targeting them? Yeah.
Well, no. First of all, they didn't know. They were like looking at me in shock, going, "Oh, never thought of that." Why would they? They've never been on a tour before. And I was like, "Well, there's nothing we can do." I said, "But we've got to really get some security at hotels to make sure they keep an eye on it." And the funny thing was, the first night we went to Santa Barbara. I remember the wife driving me up to Santa Barbara, dropping me off with the kids, and that's where we all met. And next morning, I go down, and the driver's there, and he goes, "Somebody tried to break in last night." And I'm like, "You kidding?" In Santa Barbara, of all places,
When some stoned hippie surfer.
Yeah, right. But we never got any trouble after that. It was just, I would never put on, go on a tour bus with the average white band or foreigner all over the side of it.
This was a promotional tour for the movie.
Yes.
You were doing, okay. So just like media, go to a city, do media, go to the next city, do more media.
Yet again, all planned.
Yeah.
I sat down with Fox Searchlight, and they had their own schedule. And I looked at it all, and I was like, "You know what? You did a great job." And they were like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, because we can actually make those drives, And I had a lot of fun. I mean, we did an overnight drive to Arizona, and all of them were just like looking at me, and I was telling them all these fucking stories of what I did. Roadie war stories, and they were just blown away. They were like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, "Yeah, that's what I did."
I mean, they had done some comedy tours as a troupe, I guess, but nothing like a big major rock and roll band tour.
Well, yeah, I mean, they were very, very smart people. They were very professional. It was a Q&A tour, questions and answers. But yet again, they were going into colleges, and they were doing like 2,000 to 4,000 people a night, and they just kept them going for 2 hours, and they would ask questions, but it was funny. They would tell funny jokes.
Yeah.
That was what rock and roll rowdies are going to start doing. They had a script. They had something going on. Like Eric, he had a leg missing. Eric, whatever his name was. So Jason Secker would walk up.
Eric Stolhansky.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he would hit him in the leg. So, of course, people were like looking at him going, "What is going on here?" And on stage, you hear bang, And Eric would turn on and go, "Do you feel better doing that?" And he goes, "Yeah, I do." But nobody in the audience had an idea. You just had one leg,
Yeah, I just.
So they played on their things that was going on in their lives and stuff. It was pretty. They were pretty funny guys.
Yeah, I actually wanted to show a little video of them doing a boot camp thing for Super Troopers 2, which was a little bit of a promotional thing they did, and it's quite funny. This, so if you'll just bear with me, and it's it's slightly after the era you were working with them, but it's close enough. So it's quite funny.
Hey, we're Broken Lizard. As you may have heard, we just started our Indiegogo campaign to fund our next movie, Super Troopers 2.
That's right. We hit our first goal, so we're on our way to making this movie. But you gotta keep contributing. The more money we make, the bigger movie it is.
This time around, we're gonna throw ourselves in this shit, which means doing our own stunts. Because guys who don't do their own stunts are fucking pussies.
Yeah. That's why we thought it'd be a good idea to go out there and get some real, practical police training.
And exercise. Seriously, you're looking like a bunch of goddamn Girl Scouts. Get in sync, let's go.
I'm sorry, guys, just give me a second. Yeah?
Okay, gentlemen, approaching a vehicle in a traffic stop. Nice and easy, up to the driver's side window and make contact with the driver.
License and registration, please.
I mean, no speak it English.
License and registration, please.
I mean, no speak it English.
Cut it out. Just give me your license and registration.
Gentlemen, part of your non-lethal weapons arsenal is the taser. One of you must be tased so that you can testify in court that you know what it feels like. Who's it gonna be?
I think it should be Jay.
Me too.
Yeah.
Why?
Because your Native American spirit can't be broken.
Oh, that's really Chippewa blood. Yeah. All right, gentlemen, we have some radio codes here. Does anyone know what 187 is?
Homicide.
Homicide, that's correct.
Homicide, I was gonna say that. How many do you think you can do?
1,000.
Really?
How many is that so far?
I wasn't counting.
All right, and your countdown begins. 3, 2.
Hold on a minute, Sweet Lou. Hold on a minute. Hey, Peter, you want to come in?
Wait. What's the deal here?
Yeah. Peter's like my stuntman.
We do our own stunts.
Yeah, we do your own stunts, and then Pete's doing this one stunt.
All right, I guess so. Just
Yeah.
this one time.
Yeah. Just this one stunt.
Does anyone know what 207 is?
Public pee-pee. Fucking a panda bear.
Two vagabonds doing it.
Eagle taming.
Clown shoving. Farting in your sleep.
Shaving a fish's beard.
French kissing.
It's kidnapping. Yeah. All right, and here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon. May I please see your license and registration?
I left them at your mom's house.
Do that. Don't do that. Just like.
Yeah, fuck you, pig!
You fucker! I am gonna fucking kill you.
What we're gonna do now is we're gonna learn how to tactically.
They were fucking brilliant.
What happened?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Something happened there. I don't know what happened to that. It's
Using bad
I think I had a bit of an internet blip here. Something's actually.
It's okay though.
That should have kept going, but I'll close it at that anyway. But God, they're funny. That is so. I'd never seen that till today. That's from Funny or Die YouTube channel. They'll probably strike me for using it. What the hell? So
By the way, did everybody see the movie?
Oh yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a classic, no doubt.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Oh, I love it.
Dude, every
Especially
night,
because Vermont's like 2 hours north of us, so like I can easily picture the Vermont State Troopers doing half of that.
Oh yeah.
I'm just you guys keep talking. I'm just checking.
Between that and Reno 911, it's some of the funniest, police humor that you'll ever see, man. Yeah, great stuff.
The funniest part of it is half of that shit probably happens.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
There's an officer dangle in every unit, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I think we're working okay. Anyone out there in the chat, let us know if we are okay, because I think we had a bit of a blip there, but I think it's reconnected on YouTube and it's all right.
YouTube is fine, buddy. I'm monitoring it all the time. I will let you know if anything goes wrong there. You're good.
Yeah, there was some kind of blip here, and I'm not quite sure what it was. I don't know. We're back on Rumble. Yeah, we're still working. Cool. Yeah, but that was funny stuff. Go check that out. Funny or Die. They've got the boot camp stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of footage of them doing some of these speaking tours. They're just hilarious guys. Are you still in any? Do you have any contact with these guys at all now? Or?
I used to be in contact with Jay all the time, and I haven't talked to him for about 5 years. I mean, he got really busy as a director, and he was turning to Mr. Hollywood, and they all would do their own individual things,
Yeah, I did see a clip of them recently at the Anaheim Ducks game, and they were doing a beer chugging thing together on the big screen on the Jumbotron, so to promote Quasi, the new movie. So.
Well, with being a rock and roller, I did a lot of drinking, and those guys could really effing drink. They could drink.
Yeah, I'll bet. Well, they were all chugging their beers at this on the jump, and some of them were doing letting some of it slip down the side.
Right.
Others were like, but others, I think Jay was like just bang.
Some guys are just hollow. They could take a beer in 2
Well, I mean,
seconds.
they
and
did
just
do that
down
movie
sucker.
Beer Fest, so
They did do Beer Fest,
Yeah.
and Slammin' Salmon, I remember, was quite good. I haven't seen that for a long time, but the new one looks pretty good. Quasi Modo. It won't be quasi, it's quasi.
Wilko, I'm an old bartender. Tell us a bar story about one of these guys that's really good. I mean, you keep saying that you spent time in the bars with them. What kind of fun things happen there? Because I know people have told me in the past I need to read a book or write a book about the stuff that happened to me in the nightclubs when I was working there. So,
Well, it was just basically all the bands I was with just got drunk enough so I could throw them in the tour bus or take them to the rooms, you know.
Gotcha.
There was no fighting. None of that was going on. It was just, English people just drank. The Broken Lizard guys were the same way, but at some point I was looking at them going, are you guys know what alcoholic poisoning is? And they're like, what are you talking about? And it was like, I think they drank more than rock and rollers back then.
Yeah.
You know, which was great because as long as you wake up next day, it's not a problem, you know. But no, there was never one. I mean, I was the reason Rock and Roll Rowdies, which I've said, we were rowdy. And the Jeff Beck story is I was at the bottom line in New York and I was just screaming and shouting and everybody, I think Manhattan Transfer were playing. And Jeff Beck walks in, looks at me and he goes, I'm not putting up with your shit tonight. And just did a U-turn and walked out the place. And I'm going, Jeff, I'll buy you a pint. And he got his finger up. Yeah, you know, and I was like...
No, there's a band I haven't heard for a long time, the Manhattan Transfer.
Man. Yeah, that's,
Chanson d'amour. Right?
Another Atlantic band, I think.
Yeah, they were. They were at the 40th anniversary thing, and I bet they were real. See, the nice, smooth lounge vocal group. Bet behind the scenes they were animals.
Well, I hung out with them a couple of times, and they were very straightforward.
No, right. So they weren't.
Nothing I could say bad about them because there was nothing there, you know. But you know, working with all this stuff and being around it, you party, you get drunk, you get fucked up, but you always have to have an eye in the back of your head, make sure that nobody was really fucking with you.
It was always my experience that if you were discreet as a bartender, you got repeat business when they came back to town. I had a wrestler that used to come see me a lot. Lex Luger, when they came through town, he would come see me in town and find out where I was at because he knew I was a little bit connected and he knew that I was going to make sure that he stayed out of trouble. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So,
Lex Luthor was your contact.
Luger was the guy's name. Lex Luger. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, guys, but Christian Delorme tipped another 5 Canadian Nuka-Cola caps, and he says, sorry to stop the stream, but I want the Sean Connery slap video. It's okay because it's open-handed. Cheers. Well, I do have that.
You sound like a cop to me.
So that's for you, Christian. I think I've got another one, but I don't know where it is. I have multiple Sean Connerys, but I haven't uploaded the other ones. I do have this one, though.
We're doomed.
Wilko, remember that show?
Yeah, but you know, every time you put these on, I get unmuted.
Oh, you do, right?
Yeah.
That was a Dad's Army. John
Dad's
Worry on. Thank you, Christian. Appreciate it, buddy. Glad you're here and enjoying the stream. So bar, I mean, there must be a million. What's the worst thing that happened in one of these bar sessions after hours? What can you tell us?
Well, first of all, I was a great barman for the Dalhousie Castle. And what happened there was the manager I think 77 we checked in, or 76. He was like being a bit of a dick, and then once he knew who we were and that we weren't going to wreck his castle, he goes, Wilko, would you help me out and lock up the place, the bar and stuff? I was like, yeah, not a problem. And back in those days, the bars were closed at 10 o'clock, and even if you were in a hotel, it was midnight.
Yeah.
So 4 o'clock in the morning, I've got the whole village still in the bar, And I just said whatever they wanted. I don't think I took money from them. So they must have had one hell of a thing going on next day when they looked at how much alcohol went out. They went, oh, let's look at the till. Must be a lot of money in there. There wasn't a fucking dollar. There wasn't a pound, There was no Scottish pounds in that till. But the bars, we lived in bars. I mean, there's a saying, if you're looking for an English road crew, where are you going to find them? At the pub.
At the pub, yep.
Looking for an American road crew, where are you going to find them? In somebody's room doing drugs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very, very to the point.
Well, it's not as sociable, is it? I mean, us Brits, we like to go to the pub and the bar and get sociable.
Yeah. We would be at the pub, before sound check. And as soon as the gig was over, we had to rush back to the hotel to make sure the bar was open. And I would just the guy go, oh, we're closing, I'm closing. And I'd be throwing $50 on the counter and go, oh, he's staying here? I'm like, yeah. And he would let us stay an hour later. And then finally we had a band meeting and we said, no, there's only one way to get around this. So we had our own barmaid. And we got a flight case, and we had a professional barmaid, and it was 12 glasses.
You were in the flight case?
Yeah, we made the flight case specially made as a bar. So
you put her in the flight case.
Oh yeah, get a barmaid.
That's a bit rough, but
we'd have a couple of cases of wine. We'd have gin, vodka, tequila, and all the mixes, and. Because when we did colleges, it was like everything was closed. It was just back in the 70s, things closed early,
Yeah, they did.
Okay, the only way to get around this is to have our own alcohol. And we just went on tour with a bar. Forget the guitars, we don't need them. We did the bar.
So a challenging question, perhaps, but in all the cities that you toured with these various bands and whatever, what would you say was the best one to party in?
The best city?
Yeah.
Chicago.
Huh?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Great times in Chicago.
Yeah.
The brilliant
days.
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh is actually an underrated city. Yeah, I like Pittsburgh.
Yeah. We were in Pittsburgh every time they won the Super Bowl. We were there. And it was just magic. Cincinnati. The Cincinnati Reds just won the World Series. We played that night. We walked. The band walked on stage with Cincinnati Reds outfits on. The audience went crazy, But back to Pittsburgh, there was a gig called the Dome, and the roof used to open up. And we'd get through half a set, and I'd look at the owners and go, "Look, open it up for Christ's sake," and it would open up, and the sweat coming off the people and the cigarettes, because back in those days every fucker was smoking.
Yeah. Indoor smoking, by the way. I know you people wouldn't understand that, but yeah.
I mean, it was just I was on stage just looking up, going, look at this shit that we are breathing in this
still
fucking
Steel Town then.
Yeah.
See, it's lovely now. Pittsburgh's beautiful now because that's not there anymore.
Pittsburgh, I like Boston. We've had some great times. Of course, New York, when we all lived in New York, we all used to go to Pat McKell's, the Brecker Brothers had a club. We're going to have guys, and Ashley's was the new speakeasy. Everybody always went to Ashley's. There was all these different watering holes that were fantastic places to go. But in the 70s, you could just walk off the street into any bar. It would be great,
Yeah. What about the UK? I mean, was it pretty much the same in every city, or?
No, You see, but as I said earlier, like, you know, but when I was doing England, I was a roadie. So I'd be driving in with a 3-ton truck, you know, unloading, setting up, doing a sound check. And you're at the pub all the time. You're at the club all the time. So I wouldn't get totally shit faced and have a couple of drinks because I was doing a gig, you know. As soon as the gig was finished, if you were lucky and you got 2 legs over easy, it was great. But you had to get that equipment off stage in the truck. Like we used to go to Newcastle, and there was never, ever a budget for Newcastle. We all lived in London, 200 fucking miles, right? We drive all the way home, sleep for 4 hours, get up, and drive back to Sunderland,
Jesus.
which is 20 miles south of Newcastle, right? And I never thought about it until we all talked about it doing the podcast, because we mentioned on the podcast. It was like, why don't we just get hotels? Because the management were like, that's
Who
money.
organized that shit? Yeah, it's like, who
Oh, no,
organizes that?
there was no, a lot of times, as Granny said, they would just go, okay, get in the truck, you go to Spain, go to Italy. And then when you get there, we're going to call the office, we're going to give you the where you're going. I was like, what are you talking about? I mean, what part of fucking Italy am I going to? Oh, we got you booked on this ferry. So at least they had it booked. I remember with the Tremolos getting off in Balboa, and driving all the way to fucking Barcelona. It was like 3 days to get there. You know what I mean? I was like, what the fuck is
Nobody
this
thought
shit?
about it. Yeah. Nobody looked at a map and went, we could go that way.
Well,
Oh,
we
gig
used to
there,
call
gig
it
there, gig here.
Yeah, we used to call it the dartboard tour. They just throw the darts wherever on the map, whatever. Oh, we go there. That looks good. I mean, we went to fucking Canada in January, and I'm looking at the new manager with the Average White Man going, did you book this? Yeah. Do you know the Moose leave Canada in the winter?
Yeah.
And we got stuck for 5 days or 4 days in Saskatoon.
Well, Saskatoon, Winnipeg, and Saskatoon and places like that, in the winter, it's 40 centigrade below.
Yeah.
It's not nice.
No, it's horrible. I mean, it was absolute. The tour was, we started in Vancouver and went to the Elmer Combo in Toronto.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just a fucking nightmare.
Now, for those of us who deal in moon landing units, I know there's one temperature. Is it 40 below where Fahrenheit and centigrade are the same temperature, and it's both freaking
It gets
horrible?
pretty close there, but yeah, it's like, imagine cold, but your balls dropping off cold. Brass
Yeah.
monkeys. Like
Well,
your nostrils
one coldest
freeze, and your eyeballs freeze, and your nostrils freeze.
Yeah. The coldest place I've been is Norway.
Well,
And,
indeed, you were talking about that.
Yeah, I told you last time. I was like, piss on my hands quick so they could warm up and so I can get them off get my hands stuck to the road cake, you know.
Yeah,
man.
But
Yeah, people down here bitch about the cold, and I'm like, hey, why don't you go up there where my father's from? Let's go shovel some snow. Let's see if you're really
Hey, it's
cold.
finally
all right?
just melted here today. I can
Yeah,
see I
right.
can see my garden
Yeah,
again.
and it's April. It's the beginning of April. Wilko, it was good to see you. I got to run. You guys be good. Have a good stream.
Cheers, Joe. Everyone, go subscribe to Joe and the Privateer. We're going to talk about the Privateer on a stream soon. Joe is a great artist, great comic artist, and looking forward to that very much. So thanks for being here, Joe.
Yeah. Take care,
Joe,
guys.
You should do Rock and Roll Rowdies as a comic.
Hey, man,
Oh,
I might.
an
If
idea.
this takes off, I will definitely do it for you. But
Oh, it's
my
good to
thing
know.
first.
That is good to
Okay.
know, my friend.
All right, man. I'll be
That
at
is
for
good.
it.
Cheers, Joe. Thanks
Take
for
care,
being
man.
here.
Bye.
Just want to take this opportunity to thank Christian again for this time 3 Nuka-Cola caps, Canadian Nuka-Cola caps. 3 times a charm, boys. I love you doing these, Brian. They're a great listen and makes my workday fly by. Thank you. Well, thank you for listening, Christian. You're a great friend of the show, good guy, and look forward to streaming with you again sometime soon. I'm assuming you're out on the road in a truck somewhere, so I hope we're making your day go by nicely. And I gotta find something nice to play for you. We gotta go for this. I think I'm getting throttled somewhere. It didn't play right for me. I don't know about you guys.
You started fine to me.
Yeah,
it stopped for me. I think I'm getting computer problems. Anyway, that's an opportune moment though for us, alas, to bring today to a close. Obviously, Wilko, we're going to be doing more shows over the next few weeks, but I'd just like to give a plug to a couple of things coming up. So first of all, don't forget to go to the Rock and Roll Rowdies on YouTube, subscribe, watch all that great content. As people were saying, they're on Facebook too. I don't have access to that, but go there, find them on there. Instagram too. Go find the Rowdies on all those platforms and make sure you're following them. Next show up with the Rock and Roll Rowdies is a second show with Alan at Granny Grange. I thought his nickname was going to be something really funny. He says, "No, it's just because my name's Grang." So I was expecting a real tale of rock and roll excitement, why he was called Granny, but it was a bit disappointing. So that's on Thursday morning on Pop Culture Minefield. So please, everybody, go and see that. And then next week we've got Mal. Mal is joining us for another one of these Monday shows. So be promoting those online. Check those out. So just before we say cheerio to Wilko, John, have you got anything you want to promote?
Just Pop Culture Minefield. I'm not doing my own streaming right now. We got shows every day of the week, Monday through Friday, 10 to noon Central. That's AM, and then we've got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 1 to 3. Friday's TGIF. Saturday is our Saturday morning fun time, which happens to take place in the afternoon. And Sunday's our wrestling show. So if you're a wrestling fan, come tune into that.
Cool. Thanks, John. And I'll see you for sure on Thursday morning on Granny's show. Imperatus, my friend, other than sacrificing goats, what else are you up to?
I got to see what the week entails with work and whatnot. I'm hoping to do something on Thursday again.
All right, mate. Look forward to it. And I'm still working my way through all those recommendations you've so kindly given me recently.
At least you enjoy some of them.
I'm working on them. Pope Metallicus, my hirsute friend, what's happening with you?
Well, this Thursday, you can catch me on a special for Rock and Roll Religion. We're doing part 2 of the history of rock and roll, hopefully with some of the members of this panel and maybe some others, going over the British invasion and the surf rock scene in the 60s, because we got right about to 1960 last time, so we'll see how far we get in this one. I'm hoping to get to like 64, 65, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, not ambitious at all.
That's going to be really fun. The first episode was great.
Doing the history of rock and roll, not ambitious at all.
No. I mean, we can get it done in a couple of shows, no problem.
Check that out, everybody. Yeah, what else you got going on, Pope?
Hopefully Sunday you can usually catch me for Rock and Roll Religion. I think this is going to be Exodus that we go over this time, because we were going to, but I forgot it's Easter on Sunday, so oops. But hopefully you'll join me for that. And other than that, you can catch me every Monday on here for It's Only Talk and Roll. And then I think this Saturday you said we're going to be going over a few hockey things over on Bourbon and Boarding. So
yeah, I forgot to mention Bourbon and Boarding, which Brahma Bull and I do on Saturday nights, 10 p.m. Mountain, our hockey and drinking show. Hockey, it's the playoff brackets will be set for the Stanley Cup finals. So we're going to get a few people on like Pope to plug their teams, make their choices, and basically shit talk each other's teams. So
of course, that's half the fun.
So
the only problem is we're over the internet, so we can't actually get in a fist fight over it.
Just luckily for me, because I'm not a good fighter. I'm a lover, not a fighter. In fact, if I was to be anyone, it would be this guy.
And my name is Rowdy. Now I like a woman who loves her freedom.
So that's more my style. So So thank you, Pope, for being here. Go subscribe to Pope, everybody, and Imperatus, and Das Wolfen. And Dustin, my friend, not only have you got Keto Simple, but your good lady wife is now as a channel.
She does indeed, and she's already at 49 subscribers.
Nice.
So I'll throw that in the chat for everybody to take a look at.
Yeah, do that. And what else you got coming up? Other than I appreciate your assistance with some of the prep for these shows, so thank you for that.
Oh, anything you need, always let me know. And so Keto Simple, we've got reviews coming out this week. All that stuff over the next month or so. We're going to be doing a challenge where we're only eating beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, and see how that does for us.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah,
it sounds great.
That's like half of my usual diet anyway.
That's right. Yeah.
So we're going to be doing that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Nice. Well, look forward to that, mate. That's. I think we did somebody drop out.
Lost Imperatus.
Anyway, yeah. Thanks for joining us, Dustin. Appreciate it. Thank you to everyone in the chats. It's been fantastic. So Wilko, he's back. We thought maybe you'd had enough.
Oh no!
No, I'm sitting here. I'm listening to the parrots, the wild parrots.
Yeah, and we've got more wildlife pictures of yours to show soon, so we're definitely going to do that. So Wilko, my friend, thank you very much for being with us again. It's an honor.
Listen, you guys are fantastic. I'll do anything. I do want to talk to you about something else. I'll call you later about that.
Okay, mate.
But everything's great. I love doing this. All the guys love doing it. So thank you all very much for putting us on your platforms. We listen to our stories. And yet again, Brian, we've got so much to talk about.
There is.
The Shaka Khan tour.
We haven't
touched
that. Pointer Sisters.
And we're going to do Tremolo. Yeah.
Tremolos.
The Pointer There you go. Pointer Sisters. There was so much fun going on with this,
Yeah, and all the film festival stuff, which we never got to today, but we'll definitely be doing.
Film festivals. Let's do all that stuff. So,
we'll grab some of that on Pop Culture Minefield next week when you're on that show with me. So that'll be fantastic.
My next one's the 20th.
Yeah, that show we'll definitely be talking about that there. Yeah, there's a few lots we've never even touched on there. So look forward to that very much. Thank you, sir, for being here. As I say, thank you everyone over in Rumble for watching. I know that people have been watching there, and we did make the front page on the entertainment and live tabs. So that's pretty neat, and we'll see how many views that ends up getting in the end. But thanks to everyone over in Rumble. YouTube, or to the usual suspects. First of all, thanks Lord Thoth and Darius and anyone else who was helping us mod, helping with the modding. D-Bud was there, I know. Thank you everyone else for chatting and watching. Christian, thanks for your contributions. We do appreciate it very much. Come back for more rock and roll rowdy chat next week on here and on the Pop Culture Minefield shows. So until then, go Stars. I'm just off to watch the game.
All enjoy, all be happy. All have a good time. That's what it's about.
Yeah, we've had a great time. Stay well, everybody. Keep on rocking, and we will see you again very soon. So good night.
Good